It's Mike. It's episode 2490, and it's been a while, hasn't it?
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I know, it's a daily podcast, but I had to take 3 days off, so I hope you don't mind.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Do you remember when we were kids, and we were so young, and they said to us someday something will happen. One day you will be able to do your work week instead of 5 days. You'll do it in 3 days. Yeah, that's right. That's not going to happen. See, it's not possible. We're always going to be working at least 5 days.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Now we work 7 days. Yeah, so I don't know where that went. We can work from home, but still,
Mike's
we're working
Daily
from home.
Podcast.
It's Mike.
Yeah!
At Cafe Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valentino, the last place on earth. I attended a wonderful party for Robert Owen Welsh. We once did a segment with him called Welsh on the World years ago. Probably 6 years ago now. Somewhere in the archives. Probably that was episode 1000 something. It's quite a while ago, but it was a fun time. Met a lot of cool people. Maybe some people that will be listening to the podcast for the first time. I don't know. Cafe Anyway. But it was also a day filled with a lot of people that enjoy beer. And Kevin, who works at Almanac Brewing, who was once, actually more than once, on the show with his segment Addendum with Kevin, he was there. And, I felt bad for him because there was a lot of people. But he did a great job. This guy can, when there's a lot of people around, some people freak and they go, I can't take it, and they leave and they hide under a rock. He just embraces it and is able to, figure it out in an organized, orderly manner. And able to get everything... Get from point A to point B. Get to what he needs done is what he does.
And here's today's podcast picture.
A picture from yesterday from that general area in Alameda. I think that's North Alameda is what they call that. But you'll see that picture at MikesDailyPodcast.com. And the last podcast picture for the podcast called Encouragement with my lovely lady friend at Half Moon Bay. We went on that nice excursion on Monday. Remember how hot it was? If you were in the Bay Area on not Memorial Day, Labor Day, oh, wow, so incredibly hot. I know the late, great Basil the Boxer, he and I would go to this beach all the time, Poplar Beach at Half Moon Bay. He ran and chased after the sandpipers. I didn't see any sandpipers when I went with my lovely lady friend on Monday. I hope Basil didn't permanently scare them all away. But yes, we had a wonderful time, and then this past week got kind of busy and then crazy with the heat, and I would come home ready to do a podcast, but then since my house has no air conditioning, I'd be like, I can't do it. Let me focus. Actually, one night on Thursday night, and thank you so much, Gavin, for not pulling the power out at my particular location in Podcastro Valley. Thank you for not turning off the lights. However, turning off the power, I remember hearing earlier in your governorcy that you were going to ban leaf blowers. I definitely remember hearing this somewhere. I would love you to please follow up on that promise. Leaf blowers are horrendous. Now, I am not a gardener. I have done gardening. I have done yard work. I don't have a leaf blower. I use a broom or a rake, and that's fine. The fact that leaf blowers exist in California, of all places, baffles me. Doesn't it baffle you people here at Cafe Anyway? Anyway, this is just horrendous how we are not only blowing dust in the wind, blowing dust at each other's eyeballs And we have so many particles we have to deal with already here in California with wildfires burning, chucking up ash into the air. And then we have cars chucking off emissions. Oh, well, wait, we got more electric cars here in the Bay Area. So maybe that's not as much an issue. Although the people driving electric cars, for the most part, can be kind of, get out of my way, you gas hog, as I look down on you over my nose, over my beautifully reconstructed nose. No, I didn't say that their noses have been tweaked in any way by some kind of plastic surgeon, because I have no proof of that. What? People that drive Teslas have had plastic surgery? No. I'm just saying, I was driving in the slow lane today, and someone in a Tesla flashed their high beams at me. I mean, really. I mean, come on. I mean, what is the world come to? I mean, dust in my eyes. I mean, smog in my lungs. And the smoke from the fires in my lungs. What is taking so long, Gavin, to ban leaf blowers? Because yes, they kick off the dust and they emit the carbon monoxide and the smoke and the smog, and they're little old VW bugs strapped to someone's back, making them look like a Ghostbuster, making them just emit so much pollution. And the noise pollution is the worst. Now, I know to some of you this podcast is noise pollution, but what I'm telling you is rock and roll ain't noise pollution. Because of AC/DC said something similar to that. And this is why we need to ban the leaf blowers, because of AC/DC. And now, Mike, what if my leaf blower is quiet and uses electricity? Like from a battery or something, or maybe plugged into something as we go outside a cafe anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcaster Valleyton, the last place on earth. Yes, okay, I'm okay with that. That would make sense to me, but still, leaf blowers must die. But that's not what I really wanted to talk about on today's wonderful podcast, FF episode 2490. No, I wanted to tell you about other podcasts in this world. If you will excuse me, I must reach for my cheater glasses, because I had the LASIK eye surgery done, 15 years ago, and they told me, Mike, once you get into your 50s, you're going to need to get those eyes, you'll either have to start wearing cheater glasses, or you'll have to get more surgery. And since I am cheap, I went and got the cheaters at the local dollar place. But listen to this. This was published recently in All Access, which is a website that we radio people use to get jobs and to find out what's going on in the industry. After apologizing for having Ben Shapiro at the recent conference, podcast movement president Dan Franks has now issued a statement. Dan Franks? Who the heck is Dan Franks? I wonder if there's a picture of Dan Franks. Oh, look, he's an older fella, like me. Is that Dan Franks? Oh, no, he's a younger guy. Dan Franks, founder of podcast. He's a younger fella. Okay. He's, the future of the world is Dan. Let's talk to Dan Franks, because podcasts are the future of the world. I talked to a guy yesterday. He had no idea. He was probably in his 30s, had no idea who Whitney Houston is. And you know what his source of music is? Because he was saying, I don't listen to the radio because of all the cussing. And I said, what? And he said, the songs today that come out, they're full of curse words, and they play it on the radio. I don't go for that. And I said, well, technically, a radio station cannot play curse words. The FCC still monitors radio stations, and if they can be fined if they play a song that has a cuss word in it. So they're supposed to play the clean radio edit version of songs. Although there is a song now, and that's not just rap songs where they cuss. There is a song on the top of the alternative rock charts where in the chorus there is an F-bomb. And I looked all over YouTube to try and find a clean edit of that song, a non-offensive language version of that song. I could not find it. So yeah, if you listen to Pandora or YouTube, a lot of people listen to YouTube Music, Spotify, they're not going to play the clean version. They'll play the album version. So yes, they'll be cussing on that because they're not monitored by the FCC. But anything that you're listening to via transmitters, terrestrial as they call it, it is gonna be edited. So I don't know where he was coming from with that, but he had no idea who Whitney Houston was. And I said, I want to dance with somebody. How will I know if he did we almost have it all? And all those great songs. All the man that I really need. And yes, I will always love you. So, all the other songs that she did. One moment in time to deal with destiny. So the point is, I had to explain. He kind of knew who that was, but I work with a 20-something. He has, I'll say John Mellencamp. He'll be like, what? Bruce Springsteen, what? Phil Collins, who? He has no concept of any 80s people from the 80s. So the point is, he probably listens to podcasts. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe not this podcast. But here's what happened. There's this thing called Podcast Movement, and a young fella named Dan Franks is the president of Podcast Movement. And apparently he has now issued a statement which includes a policy to Ben Shapiro. The statement, tweeted on Thursday evening via the Podcast Movement Twitter account, read, as we stated, we're continuing to evaluate our policies guiding social media and events with inclusivity and diversity and respect for all. We have to start by sincerely apologizing to Mr. Shapiro for our reaction when he visited a booth we sold his company. That wasn't right. Which, by the way, I think Cumulus is the radio company that had that booth. And they said, we're done. We're not sponsoring you, Podcast Movement, anymore. Even though we generate a lot of podcasts, forget about it. We're done. Podcast Movement began in 2014 with 4 podcasters. Oh, this is being said by the president of Podcast Movement, Dan Franks. With 4 podcasters who had an idea to create a vibrant community that was for podcasters by podcasters. We're still those people with the same idea and recognize there's work to do as we grow. We are now looking to move forward as we focus on that original mission from 2014, being a hub for podcasting events, resources, news, and thought leadership. Cumulus, now, somebody who does a podcast, who supposedly created the first early podcasts, who is that? Adam Curry. He said he went to this thing, and it was mostly, there's an expression, he has a face for radio. It's true, because a lot of DJs look pretty scary. Anybody who got into radio as their passion and not television, generally, they're not the best looking people on the planet. I know this because I've looked in the mirror. And it's a complete unstoppable drive to be on the radio. Unfortunately, a lot of us have that don't have the looks. So, however, in podcast world, at Podcast Movement, this year, just a few weeks ago, most of the people that were well known in the podcast community were also very attractive.
Right? Good.
And have a face for the camera because they're not doing the radio thing, just the audio thing. They're doing a lot of the visual thing. They're doing a lot of the TikTok and the Instagram and the YouTube. So they're getting that visual video side down, which to me is it's sacrilege to what I think podcasting is. Podcasting is focusing on the audio side. It's what can we do with the audio side? What can we do? We're outside a cafe anyway. We're outside with all these beautiful birds. This is food for your brain, for the imagination. I don't care. I don't video this. I used to video stuff and upload it to YouTube, like quick little short video clips. I did that for about 2 years. And then recently, within the past few weeks, YouTube barred me. They gave me a check mark and a warning, and they stopped me from uploading any videos for a week because they said I was spreading misinformation about COVID, which was a complete lie, which was a complete asinine allegation, because I took what I read on this podcast came directly from the CDC and from the WHO. It was verbatim from there. So they're like, oh, well, you're a human being that's not a doctor, and you talked about COVID, so we're banning your video. And when I appealed and tried to explain, they didn't even look at it. They said, nope, your appeal's been denied. So from that moment on, I said, that's it. No more videos for you, YouTube. The only content I'm putting, because that was extra work for me. I had to put my makeup on. I had to make sure that my hairs were perfectly combed on my face, on my little gray beard that I got, and the no hair on top of the head. And I had to, make sure it looked proper. But no, I'm done with you, YouTube. I'm done. I'm still uploading a podcast to YouTube. It's the kind where Spreaker does it for you, and Spreaker puts their logo on it. And so basically you're just looking at a Spreaker logo with the podcast picture, which will be something from yesterday when I was at North Alameda. But that's just the way, that's where it's going. And podcasts will continue to exist because people will need something to listen to, something to occupy their ears and their brains as they're driving, doing a mindless commute somewhere, or a walk where they don't want to, they want to occupy their brains while they're just walking, or they're walking on a treadmill. Hey, if you are listening to me while you're driving, walking, doing any kind of activity, please be very aware of, have the volume kind of down so you could hear what the heck is happening around you. I think some people, they roll up the windows, they blast their music, and then they are endangering themselves because there's all kinds of craziness happening around them that they're not aware of, and they're not aware, and you got to be aware. All that is important to remember. Thank you, Mike. So the Cumulus Podcast Network reacted to the initial snub, pulling its sponsorship support in response to the conference's apology for Shapiro's surprise appearance at this year's event in Dallas. Cumulus is the advertising sales representative for the Daily Wire, which is Ben Shapiro's content platform, and distributes the Ben Shapiro Show through its Westwood One subsidiary. So, will they put their sponsorship back? I don't know. But there you go. That's what's happening in this crazy world in which we live. Outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcaster Valley. The last place, and the Queen died. Which made me very sad. I got kind of emotional when she passed because I didn't realize, was born the same year my dad was born, and that means that had my father lived, he passed away in 2005, he would have also been 96 this year. I didn't really realize what his age would have been had he lived. So I was like, same year as my dad. I feel this weird connection to her, Queen Elizabeth. I watch a lot of British stuff. I watched a lot of documentaries on her and her family, her father, her sister, her son, of course, Charles, Diana, everything, all the kids, Camilla. So I find it fascinating. And then Prince Charles, or now King Charles III, said a nice speech on, what was it, Friday, where he acknowledged Harry and Meghan, is trying to bring them back into the fold, and the family and everybody will be nice and happy. So I hope, with everything going on in England, with their high, we've talked about some of that stuff, like the fuel prices are going through the roof, taxes, it's not easy living there. But we're outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcaster Valley, the last place on earth. Look who's here. Hi, Mark. It's Benita the Rodeo Queen. How y'all doing about my horse, Billy? Hey, Nelly. Oh, what a great horse. I love horses. Oh, and today and yesterday was the Fall Festival in Podcaster Valley. It just wrapped up a little while ago, but yeah, they had a couple of little ponies for the kids to ride. Really cute. But they better be treating those ponies nicely. Fairly, kindly, with compassion. Because ponies are cool. Look who else is here.
Hey, Mac, this is the Disgruntled Fiddle Player. Tell you what? I think that your whole conversation about what people listen to today, I think it don't matter, because people listen to whatever they listen to sometimes. They don't listen to me. They don't listen to you. They just listen to that sound inside their head. Mike Matthews. Tell you what.
What?
There's a sound inside my head.
What's it sound like?
It sounds like a fiddle. That's why I hate fiddles, and I'm disgruntled. I'm a disgruntled fiddle player.
Okay.
Chris Stapleton School.
He's got quite a voice. Look who else is here.
Oh my God, make the delicious root beer.
You know, Brewmaster, I will drink your root beer. Thank you very much. Oh, that's good.
It's a pumpkin spice root beer because of the fall season. Oh boy.
Yeah, we're rapidly approaching the fall season. Welcome to my segment now, as I shift gears ever so abruptly. This segment is called Let's Go Back with Matthews. We're going to go back in time to when yours truly, Mike Matthews, was just starting out in radio. And we're going way back. Now, this is yes, it's one of the years that started with a 1989. I was on the radio. I found this tape the other day. I am overjoyed that I have found this tape. I recorded it digitally so I have it for all time posterity, and saved it in multiple places so I won't lose it. Let's listen to a little piece of it, shall we? Oh, do you recognize that sound? That is Karen White, I think. Oh, Dire Straits. I love that album, Brothers in Arms. Oh, you listen to that album today. Oh,
CY 197. Good morning. It's 3:10 with Rick Astley. She wants to dance with me.
Oh, that's the other Rick Astley song. Now, I don't know why I was like to dance with me. I don't know what I was doing with my voice back then. Wow. I was putting on some kind of thing that I was not really, I wasn't being myself, really. That was a hit. She Wants to Dance with Me. Everybody thinks of Never Gonna Give You Up and Together Forever. But this also, 1989, I was getting up at 5 in the morning, driving to Santa Barbara from Oxnard, and I was on the air for half an hour, from 6 to 6:30. They gave me some songs to play, and you just heard a little clip from that early morning show. And then at 6:30, I had to play back because FCC, they were a lot more strict in the 80s about this, but you had to play at least a half-hour show that had to do with talking to members of the community and had to do with issues that affected people in the community. A public affairs show is what we call those. And so I played it back on a reel-to-reel, a tape, reel to reel. Look it up. I can't really explain it. It's the tape comes out of one, goes through a thing, like a bigger version of what a cassette is, if you ever get a cassette tape and look at. All right. So then at 7, from 7 to 8, we had a 1-hour show. I think it was called On the Radio. And it was this guy, I think his name was Bob Guerra. And he sent us the show via record. And you would play the record, and it was already mixed onto the record. So you'd play it off a record player, because people hadn't figured out how to put it on CD yet, I guess, in 1989. And he would talk about all the latest music news. He'd play some new songs. It was a pretty good show. I may have kept 1 or 2 records somewhere. But then at 8 o'clock started, and this is Sunday mornings, started Casey Kasem, American Top 40. And you can still hear those shows where you live. There might be an iHeart radio station that carries the countdown. It actually plays the whole 4-hour show that he used to do. And they go back to different dates. And it always fascinates me because the years like 1983, 1982, and 84, there was a lot of good music. Now, Casey only did his show, American Top 40, until 1987, I think, 88. The last show, I think the number one song was Don't Worry, Be Happy, Bobby McFerrin. And then he gave it up to Shadow Stevens, and then Casey went to start his own countdown called Casey's Countdown. And he did that for, I think up until he died. So, long time. Anyway, Cafe Anyway, one more clip from 1989, from this tape. A little more Rick Astley. Which, hey, one cool thing about Rick Astley, he loves Crowded House as much as I do, and it has seen Neil Finn and the guys in concert many times, and I appreciate that about Rick Astley. Oh wow, I'm hearing Smooth Criminal. Wow, okay.
HTY 197 with Mike Matthews, the early morning substitute disc jockey. Where are you working at right now?
The adult bookstore.
The adult bookstore. And you guys are open right now?
Yeah, we're open 24 hours.
Oh my gosh.
That's where everybody wants to sneak in, and don't want to be seen.
Yeah, I know. I can relate. Well, I mean, I can't, but I can't relate, actually. What are you doing right now? Give me a call, 965-9797.
Wow. I didn't know that was going to come up. Well, that did. And apparently, do adult bookstores still exist? This is 1989, so I guess that was a big thing at the time in Santa Barbara. It's interesting. Well, that's who was listening to me. The adult bookstore. And I guess that was early in the morning at something like 3 o'clock. So maybe this was a different show. That was from a different show that I did. Or maybe they were still listening at 6:30 in the morning. Who knows? But
that's enough. Put down the mic.
That's what the magic of radio. You never know who's listening. And perhaps that's the same with podcasts. You never know who's listening. But if you are listening and you would like to tell me something, anything, 336MM Daily, 3 + 3 = 6, MM as in Mike Matthews, Daily as in what this podcast tries to be, and we'll attempt to do so this week. But now we have reached the final segment of the show that is called the Mike Matthews New Tunes Feud. And I was talking to someone yesterday about why I do this segment. I said, because people send me songs. They email it to me, MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. And this band here is called the Jailbirds, and they sent me a link, but when I click on it, it just takes me to all their albums. So they're not telling me specifically which album to play, so I'll just click on the first album called Jungle, and I'll play this song called I Will Move On. Let's listen to a little of that. Okay, that's the Jailbirds. Did you like them better, or do you like this artist named Gian Varela, and it features Nenito Vargas, and this song is called Oiga Morena. Okay, let's listen to a little bit of Oiga Morena. Wow. So you like better the Jailbirds or Gian Varela featuring...
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed
Why
by Mike
is she
Matthews.
talking
His
right
podcast
then?
is
Hold on. That is the wonderful A-Frame. She got a little bit... You were just a tad bit early, A-Frame. A-Frame! So... instead, why don't I say this? And that is, you could call me 336 Daily. 3 plus 3 equals 6. Is in Mike Matthews. Daily is in what this podcast tries to be, and sometimes gets interrupted by life. And you know how that is. Which one do you like better, the Jailbirds or Gian Varela featuring Nenito Vargas? And you can call me at that number, 336 Daily. Okay, so that is the show today, with all the great characters and everybody else. And yes, next show it'll be the wonderful Madame Rootabega, Valentino, and Bison Bentley. Okay, now A-Frame.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Email Mike now at MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!